So I know Steph Curry just returned, but in spite of that, I still believe that the number 1 overall pick is going to go to the Golden State Warriors somehow. And in the event that that happens, then I have them selecting James Wiseman out of Memphis, technically out of Memphis, with the number 1 overall pick. This is the first draft, maybe since the 2013 NBA draft, where there isn't a clear-cut number 1 overall pick. Meaning, if the Cleveland Cavaliers won the number 1 overall pick, I don't think they're going to be drafting James Wiseman. They already have a ton of depth in their front court. In this instance, the Golden State Warriors are in a unique situation. They have tremendous guard play at the point guard and shooting guard position, boasting 2 of the greatest shooters in NBA history. And yeah, I guess you could say that they could draft a point guard or a shooting guard right here, Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball, and bring them off of the bench, but that's not the best usage of their resources. James Wiseman fills a position of need for the Golden State Warriors, but I have a hunch that no matter who they take here, eventually they're going to be packaged with Andrew Wiggins in order to trade for a star. So the number 2 pick is going to go to the Atlanta Hawks, and I have them selecting LaMelo Ball. And the reason I have them selecting LaMelo Ball is mainly because I really want to see a backcourt of LaMelo Ball and Trae Young. Now, I understand LaMelo Ball is technically a point guard, but he could obviously size up next to Trae Young as a shooting guard as well. He has the size for it. He's 6'7". During his time in Chino Hills High School, when he was playing with his brothers, he was viewed as a very streaky shooter, and we didn't really know what was going to become of him. But now that he's a 6'7" beast of a guard, he can not only take his opponents off of the dribble, but he's also excellent at taking shots from the perimeter. He has tremendous defensive potential as well, and we all know about the Ball family's obsession with basketball. I feel like his fit next to Trae Young is just too good to pass up, and the Atlanta Hawks would sell so many tickets just off of the Ball family name next to Trae Young. It'll be probably the most exciting basketball we've ever seen, and the Atlanta Hawks also have this unique opportunity to try to recreate an interesting backcourt tandem that kind of is reminiscent of the Golden State Warriors. Now, bear in mind, you can't just throw LaMelo Ball and say, oh, this is the next Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but they do have a tremendous ceiling, and they do have the potential to get to that point, whether it's with their shooting or via other methods. So the number 3 overall pick belongs to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and over here, I have them drafting Anthony Edwards, and this is just one of those beautiful scenarios where the best overall player in the entire NBA draft is still available and fits into the team that's drafting him perfectly. Now, bear in mind, of course, Atlanta could easily take Anthony Edwards over LaMelo Ball. Anthony Edwards is a beautiful piece to complement D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns in the Minnesota Timberwolves offense. They run a very up-tempo scheme. Anthony Edwards has shown the ability to catch on fire and be an extremely streaky shooter from the perimeter, but he's also displayed tremendous athleticism as well. Not only that, but he's a 6'4" guard that has a 6'9" wingspan, which means he also has tremendous defensive potential, which is huge considering the fact that the Minnesota Timberwolves are kind of notorious for having 2 stars that aren't the greatest defenders. So at the number 5 pick, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Deni Avdija. Here's the thing. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you are in desperate need of a boomer bust pick here, and there's no bigger boomer bust pick than Deni Avdija. He could either be the next Luka Doncic or he could be the next Jan Vesely. So far, he's tearing it up for Maccabi Tel Aviv in the Israeli league, but here's the thing. The league that Deni Avdija plays in isn't considered to be the most competitive of leagues, so will he be able to maintain that kind of production in the NBA? Luka was different. Luka played in the Spanish leagues, and he dominated in the FIBA World Cup as well. Luka has had a complete track record of dominating not only against the EuroLeague and the Spanish league, but also against international competition. But does Deni have that same body of work? We're gonna have to wait and see. He seems to have the tools. At the very worst, he's gonna be a poor man's Luka, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are in a situation where they need a player that could potentially become the next Luka Doncic. And if he flops, then it's not a big deal, because who are you supposed to draft at this position? Cole Anthony, Nico Mannion? You have a ton of point guards and guards on your roster. You might as well take a shot at the biggest boomer bust prospect in the entire draft. The 5th pick in the NBA draft, I have the New York Knicks selecting Cole Anthony. And the reason for this is the Knicks are in that situation where they need a very exciting player to come and attempt to change their culture. I know they've been in the same exact situation for the past, 20 years, but they have an opportunity to draft a very exciting player out of North Carolina who's extremely explosive, quick in the open floor with the ball, and has great body control. Now, he's very, very smooth with the way he gets his finishes at the rim. He's very exciting with the way he finishes dunks. He's able to finish his dunks with either hand, which is very important, and he can translate his athleticism into game situations and in half-court settings. Now, Cole Anthony reminds me a little bit of Dwayne Wade or Derrick Rose, but at the same time, the one thing he has over Dwayne Wade or Derrick Rose coming out of college is he's a significantly better three-point shooter. I would like to think that he's who Austin Rivers was supposed to be coming out of college. The only issue with Cole Anthony is he is more Russell Westbrook than Chris Paul. He is a better scorer and has tremendous athleticism, but he isn't the greatest passer. But that is obviously something he could work on as he gets guard play for the New York Knicks. And I feel like a core of Cole Anthony and RJ Barrett is a nice little backcourt tandem that has tremendous potential if they get the right guidance. The 6th pick belongs to the Detroit Pistons, so they're going to take Tyrese Halliburton. And Tyrese Halliburton is one of those players that's going to make you scratch your head right now, because by the end of the NCAA tournament, Tyrese Halliburton could either be a player that's drafted in the top 10 or he could fall to the top 20. He has a tremendous basketball IQ. He scored 15.2 points per game on 50% shooting from the field and 41% from three with the Cyclones. And he seems to be a significantly better shot maker and has developed a floater. He's currently ranked 99% in spot ups, which is fantastic because it means you could plug and play him in any system. So I have the Detroit Pistons going with him. So the next pick belongs to the Charlotte Hornets, and I have them taking Daniel Oturu out of Minnesota. Daniel Oturu is a little bit undersized at 6'10" at the center position, and this pick may be one of those picks where everyone's looking at Charlotte and saying, what the hell is Michael Jordan doing? Because Daniel Oturu isn't really that well known, but he is a bit of a project player. He's currently averaging 20 points per game for Minnesota off of 57% shooting from the field, and is averaging 11 rebounds per game to go with 3 blocks per game. So the potential's definitely there for him to be a premier shot blocker in the league and a defensive anchor in the league. However, he doesn't have tremendous star potential, and I don't know if the Charlotte Hornets are going to be okay with that. Maybe they want to take a risk on a player that could provide a greater return, but could be a potential reach. With the 8th pick, I have the Chicago Bulls selecting Onyeka Okongwu. If you guys don't know who Onyeka is, he is one of the members of that Chino Hills starting 5 that featured Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball, and LiAngelo Ball. His identity is based upon athleticism, energy, and defense. He's like Kenneth Faried, but there's tremendous offensive potential. Probably my favorite player in this entire draft class, a player that could without a doubt be the best player. I feel like there's no better player that has tremendous potential in this draft than Onyeka Okongwu. With the 9th pick, I have the Washington Wizards selecting Isaac Okoro out of Auburn. Now, you need to understand that Okoro could easily go in the top 5 by the time this is all said and done, but Okoro brings something to the Washington Wizards that they've been missing for quite some time, and that's tremendous 3-and-D potential. He's a very strong player. He is extremely efficient. He's shooting 60% from the field inside the arc, but he's 16 of 21 on drives out of spot ups to the basket, 10 of 16 on post ups, and 9 of 17 out of isolations. He's also 9 of 12 on cuts so far this year. Shooting will be the biggest issue for him, and if you could develop his shooting, it would probably put him over the hump and make him an extremely valuable player. But the eye test so far looks good on him. So far, he's 19 years old, and he's made 16 threes this season, so you could kind of bet that he's only going to develop those skills. So the Sacramento Kings are going to stay true to brand by selecting Obi Toppin with the 10th pick, a player who was once considered to be selected within the top 3 of the NBA draft. Sacramento Kings select a player with tremendous upside, just as they have in years past with Marvin Bagley and Harry Giles. And with the Harry Giles pick, start to pay off for them. I expect them to make more picks like that right now. With the 11th pick, I have the Phoenix Suns selecting Jaden McDaniels, a player that is extremely high potential, and he's the project of this year's class. I guess you could compare him to Giannis in the sense that he has like no tools, but a ton of potential if the right team gets his hands on him. I feel like he could really grow with the Phoenix Suns, and good things could happen once these two team up together. I have the New Orleans Pelicans at number 12 selecting Tyrese Maxey, a very streaky shooter and a shooting guard that could come off of their bench or be plugged into the starting lineup if he truly fits in with everybody. He could play relief duties for JJ Redick if JJ Redick stays, or easily step into that role as a shot maker. With the 13th pick, I have the San Antonio Spurs selecting RJ Hampton, and Greg Popovich gets his hands on his next point guard project. The reason why this pick works is RJ Hampton and DeJounte Murray will be able to coexist with one another in the backcourt. With the 14th pick, I have the Portland Trail Blazers selecting Devin Vassell, who's a small forward out of Florida State. He's a great three-point shooter, typical 3-and-D prospect, shooting 42% from three-pointer this year so far. With the 15th pick, I have the Orlando Magic selecting Nico Mannion, who seems extremely competitive and could be the culture-changing point guard that the Orlando Magic need, just based off of the attitude that he has towards the game of basketball. With the 16th pick, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Precious Achiuwa, but I really like what Precious could bring to the Minnesota Timberwolves off the bench. He's currently averaging 15 points and 10 rebounds, a double-double in the NCAA. Tremendous room for improvement to his skill package. He is a 6'9" size, but he has the modern NBA big mobility and energy. He will be able to run the floor when you need him to and pick up easy baskets. He has that Clint Capella-like potential. With the 17th pick, I have the Boston Celtics selecting Trey Jones out of Duke University, a prototypical Brad Stevens type of player that comes from a very decorated college background, playing with Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett last year, but he opted to stay back an additional year to develop his basketball IQ while playing for one of the greatest basketball minds in the entire NCAA. Trey Jones's value 100% revolves around his basketball IQ and his defensive toughness. He's made himself more attractive to NBA teams by improving his scoring ability off the dribble. He had this one game on February 8th where he scored 28 points in an overtime win against North Carolina, and this could have been a huge needle mover in evaluators determining what Trey Jones' value is. Now, for the 18th pick, I have the Milwaukee Bucks selecting Aaron Nesmith out of Vanderbilt. He's out for the season currently, but before this, he seemed like the draft's #1 shooter. He drilled 63 through 14 games at a crazy 52% clip. Obviously, that's unsustainable rate. And then he got injured. He's not a great shot creator, but he is able to make shots, and his shot making resulted in 23 points per game. He doesn't need any dribbles to be successful. He could play off of the ball. Now, the 19th pick, I have the OKC Thunder selecting Josh Green out of Arizona. And Josh Green is an impact player who's very energetic, but the problem with Josh Green is he makes most of his baskets in transition. He is a great passer in transition and has a phenomenal floater. It plays great defense as well. He should be able to carve out a supporting role in the NBA for the OKC Thunder. Now, with the 20th pick, I have the Dallas Mavericks staying true to brand by drafting a foreign player, Aleksej Pokusevski, which is a center out of Olympiacos, and he's viewed as a sleeper, but not to the point where you'll see him in a lot of mock drafts. I feel like this is a prototypical Mark Cuban pick, and he has great shooting, passing, and shot blocking skills, and he made a great impression during FIBA play and the Adidas Next Generation tournament. Now, with the 21st pick, I have the Brooklyn Nets selecting Saddiq Bey, a player that kind of slips in this year's draft. He's 6'8". He has great positional tools. He's a small forward out of Villanova, is making 45% of his threes this year, and he's getting some great first-round buzz from NBA scouts. He has great playmaking ability and can make shots and has great physical tools. He is a player that could develop into that 3-and-D type player for you. With the 22nd pick, I have the Denver Nuggets selecting Theo Maledon, who is a 18-year-old point guard. The problem with him is he's extremely streaky. He has the NBA type body. He's 6'3", 170 pounds. He has poise. He's very good at finishing at the basket, and he has great passing and shot making ability. It could take some time before the Nuggets get a return on him, but the investment is definitely worth it, especially considering the fact that he's going to be coming off the bench for Jamal Murray. Now, with the 23rd pick, I have the Miami Heat selecting Jalen Smith out of Maryland, a power forward or center that will obviously be coming in relief for Bam Adebayo, currently averaging a double-double for Maryland and 2 blocks. The problem with him is he doesn't really have the greatest face-up game or passing skills. He's not very explosive or athletic, but he's able to hit threes, and if there's one team that values three-point shot making from their bigs, it's the Miami Heat. And if there's one team that could get the best out of any player with their crazy diet routines, it's the Miami Heat. Now, at the 24th pick, I have the Utah Jazz selecting Kira Lewis Jr. out of Alabama. Now, bear in mind, on February 8th, Kira Lewis Jr. went ahead and threw up 37 points against Georgia, which is Anthony Edwards' team, and then went ahead and had a triple-double against Auburn. So pretty much Kira Lewis's entire situation is he's an incredible player for the NCAA, but it's the typical story of, could this incredible NCAA player's game translate to the NBA? Now, with the 25th pick, I have the New York Knicks taking Patrick Williams out of Florida State. He has a very powerful frame. He's a very capable shot maker and has great defensive versatility. He should get first-round interest even if his scoring and his impact fluctuates a little bit. And since Devin Vassal's already out, you might as well go for Patrick Williams. Now, the 26th pick, I have OKC taking Duke University center Vernon Carey. Carey is a very old-school type of center. He is incredible at rebounding and can post score, but he's not able to really switch and isn't a front court shooter. So he is a very traditional center. 27th pick, I have the Boston Celtics selecting Leandro Bolmoro out of Barcelona. It's another one of those situations where we vaguely know about the prospect. He is able to make shots and has great ball handling for playmaking, and that's all we know about him so far. But this is the point of the draft where you take risks. At the 28th pick, the Toronto Raptors select Isaiah Stewart out of Washington. Isaiah Stewart doesn't really have great scoring versatility, doesn't have defensive range, doesn't have athleticism. He has a high floor as an enforcer and an energizer, kind of like Kendrick Perkins. It's a good pick for a team that's just trying to get a rotation player this late in the draft. With the 29th pick, I have the Los Angeles Lakers selecting Devin Dotson. Devin Dotson has a lot of hype coming out of Kansas. The Lakers take a chance on him, but I really highly doubt that he would be able to crack the rotation. We're looking at a potential two-way contract for Devin Dotson at best. And with the 30th pick, I have the Boston Celtics selecting Cassius Stanley. And in order for Stanley to succeed in the NBA, he needs his jumper to become consistent, since it's unlikely he offers value as a creator or playmaker, but he's one of the draft's most explosive athletes, and his 21 threes in 23 games and defensive effort could make him worth gambling on, a hit or miss first round option. Let me know if there's anyone that I missed here, guys, because we are going to have plenty of more mock drafts down the line. So if you have any advice as to how to improve these, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm your boy Flight Mike. I'll catch you guys in the next one.